अस्य श्यामला मातरं वन्दे
Welcome to all. Music by Rajana Narayan and Group.
मजहब नहीं सिखाता, आपस में बैर रखना मजहब नहीं सिखाता, आपस में बैर रखना। हिंदी है हम, हिंदी है हम, हिंदी है हम, वतन है हिंदुस्ता हमारा, हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा। हिंदुस्ता हमारा, हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा, सारे जहां से अच्छा। हिंदुस्ता हमारा। मन में है विश्वास, पूरा है विश्वास, हम होंगे कामयाब। होगी शांति चारों ओर, होगी शांति चारों ओर, होगी शांति चारों ओर। लेकिन मन में है विश्वास, पूरा है विश्वास, होगी शांति चारों ओर। लेकिन हम चलेंगे साथ साथ, ज्ञान हाथों में हाथ, हम चलेंगे साथ साथ। लेकिन मन में है विश्वास, पूरा है विश्वास, चलेंगे साथ साथ। मेरी दस किसी का आज, मेरी दस किसी का आज, मेरी दस किसी का आज। लेकिन मन में है विश्वास, पूरा है विश्वास, मेरी दस किसी का आज। लेकिन हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब। लेकिन मन में है विश्वास, पूरा है विश्वास, हम होंगे कामयाब। हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब, हम होंगे कामयाब।
Welcome and introductory address by Dr. Abhishek Singh.
Honorable Chief Justice of India, Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court, Honorable Judges of the High Court, Honorable retired Judges, Honorable Chairmen and members of tribunals, Mr. Jain, Mr. Thomas, President and office bearers of the Bar Associations of the High Court, Peace Hazari, Patiala House, MRTP, CGAT and Central Administrative Tribunals, my colleagues on the Executive Committee of the Supreme Court Bar Association, my colleagues at the Bar, ladies and gentlemen. It is with a deep sense of pleasure that I welcome all of you gathered here today on this truly momentous occasion, the celebration by the Apex Bar of the completion of 50 years in a nation's life. It is true that there is some sense of cynicism and despondency in the air when we talk of our 50th year. But it would be wrong to attribute the spirit of joy and celebration in and only or merely to my incurable optimism. Of course, as you are aware, the optimist was the man who, when falling from the 80th floor of a tall building, was asked at the 3rd floor level as to how it was going, and is reported to have said, "So far so good." But clearly, I assure you, there is substantial cause for joy and celebration. Under the largest constitution in the world, we have gone to elections every 5 years and often sooner on the basis of universal and equal adult franchise. Transfer of power has been orderly, constitutionally proper. Even to have survived as a democracy is no mean achievement when in South and Southeast Asia itself we have examples of countries with 15 constitutions, 17 coups or 23 prime ministers. In that sense, we have demonstrated the truth of a British Prime Minister's tribute to India and to Indian democracy when he said that the ultimate mark of a true democracy is the willingness of a government defeated at the ballot box to surrender power peacefully to its opponents. It is undeniable that just like lawyers and law persons played a pivotal role in our freedom struggle, culminating in independence 50 years ago, the jewel in whatever we may call our crown of achievements has been, on the one hand, our Constitution as a dynamic document of national self-actualization, and our judicial and legal system, on the other hand, as an independent, shining third organ of state, an outstanding watchdog of the rule of law. A quick synoptic overview of our nation's balance sheet reflects the causes for justifiable pride and the areas of concern and future focus. Achievement of independence through non-violent struggle was itself a marvel bordering on a miracle in the history of humanity. Our great leaders, many of whom were lawyers, bequeathed to us an outstanding constitution enshrining an eclectic mix of our national ethos as well as the desirable features of our great democracy of the world. Through 80-odd amendments to the Constitution, we have deepened our preamble, fine-tuned fundamental rights, partially complied with directive principles of state policy, established a welfare state, and attempted a socio-economic revolution. Both separation of powers and cooperative federalism have been practiced, though mutual recrimination between organs of state over perceived encroachments of jurisdiction are increasing. Our electoral mechanisms have ensured free and fair elections involving staggering numbers in the world's largest democracy. Multi-party system has contributed to the growth of the opposition, without which there cannot be true democracy. We have an independent judiciary, one of the finest in the world, and the very fact that it has retained, indeed received, an increased share of the people's faith is testimony to its outstanding success. The problems are many. Frequent elections, hung legislative bodies, and coalitions have a deep adverse impact on political stability. Mechanisms for smooth running of coalitions are yet to be perfected. An admixture of caste, community, and religious factors with politics creates an explosive and volatile cocktail. Erosion of values, especially in the body politic, has led to disgust and disenchantment and calls for change of the system from prime ministerial to presidential. Despite constitutional amendments, political power sharing with Panchayati Raj institutions is yet to become a universal reality. The intensely acrimonious ambience of Parliament has led to understandable apprehensions about its future role and relevance. Non-conventional court decisions and verdicts give rise to complaints of judicial activism, on the one hand, while glaring and inexcusable executive abdication impels judicial intervention in hitherto unexplored areas. Extensive violence, domestic and cross-border terrorism is assuming the form and proportions of a cancerous growth. Electoral reforms to cleanse the very process of establishment of popular governments are yet to see the light of the day. It is therefore, I submit, time for us to pause, to think, to introspect. Where are we headed? We have so much, and yet we often appear lost. 50 years in the life of a nation still puts it in the category of a youth, though it may be middle age for a man or a woman. As a writer put it, a young man is so strong, so mad, so certain, and so lost. He has everything and is able to use little or nothing. It is in the recognition, if not the resolution, of such dilemmas, and to simply reflect upon them, that such commemorative functions have their relevance. A very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you very much.
Honorable judges of the Supreme Court, honorable retired judges, honorable judges of the High Court, office bearers of the various bar associations, and other members of the bar. We have assembled here to mark the grand finale of the Golden Jubilee celebrations of our independence. At this occasion, we should take stock of what we have achieved and what we could not in the last 50 years. Since all of us here belong to legal fraternity, I will confine myself only to those problems. We should be proud of the functioning of democracy in our great country. Particularly, we find that the experiment of democracy in the country surrounding us has not been very satisfactory. Successful functioning of the democracy in our country, when there are problems all around us, is a big tribute to the Indian judicial system. If one looks back after the commencement of the Constitution and scan any field, maybe field of human rights, public law, civil law, criminal law, or any other field of law, one finds that our courts have discharged their obligations admirably. Human rights jurisprudence evolved by our courts since independence can be compared easily with the best of the so-called developed judicial system. Even in the field of public law, our courts have done a commendable job. There are various other areas which can be mentioned with pride as achievement of the Indian legal system, but then these are the achievements of an era just after independence. The society's expectations from us for the future are far greater. We were under foreign rule for a long time. This is a historical fact, and I, along with so many like me, would like it to be only a part of history. One would not like to be reminded today of our colonial past. We would not like to be told of those colonial traditions, conventions, which shaped our destiny in the past. The Indian legal system after 50 years has come of age and is rich enough to have encompassed everything of its own. We have our traditions and conventions. We should have our own jurisprudence, which should not only govern us, but should act as a beacon light for the entire humanity. Time has come to break from the colonial past completely. Some of the small things, though apparently innocuous, keep on haunting us time and again. Take the case of dress which we wear in the court. We wear black coat, black gown and a band. I am sure majority of would not be knowing the relevance of such a dress. Such a dress is neither in consonance with our cultural ethos, nor scientifically suited to our tropical climatic conditions. I tried to find out but could not find any valid reason for continuing with such a dress. The dress all the time reminds me of the inheritance of the British judicial system. After half a century, we should have our own dress for the court, which is in tune with our ethos and climatic conditions. This is no disrespect to the dress which we are wearing at present, but we should have a dress which we can proudly call as our own. Like the dress, our manner of addressing the bench in the court should also be completely Indian now. What should be the dress, what should be the manner of addressing is a matter which the courts, the Bar Council, the Bar Association should decide by sitting together and deliberating on the issue. Apart from the dress, it is seen that in spite of our rich heritage, we are depending too much on the foreign judgments. Some of our senior lawyers cite foreign judgments for any small points, when judgments on the same subject are available by Indian courts. It is inconceivable that in the 50 years since our independence, we have not been able to cover almost every field. Why, even after 50 years, this dependence on foreign judgments? I am not against taking light from all sources. I am against this mental block. Nobody can dispute that one should take light from whatever source it comes, but in the process, we should not look subservient to any system. There is also need to review of pre-independence laws. It can be argued that all those laws which are constitutionally permissible are continued. But that is not the point. Constitutionality of a law is one thing, and the laws made for achieving the constitutional goal another. Time has come, and the Parliament and the State Assembly should find time to enact fresh laws in place of all pre-independence laws. There are various old land laws, jail manuals, which needs new legislation. For example, law relating to our armed forces, though enacted in 1950, are basically copies of the British laws. It is high time when pre-independence laws should be permitted to remain on the statute book unless they meet the aspirations and needs of the people. All what I have said above is for achieving the larger public purpose and constitutional goal enshrined in our Constitution. The lawyers, not only in this country, but all over the world, have been in the forefront of all social and political movements. It is not by chance that they were in the forefront of the movement. It is because the role assigned to the lawyers by the society is such that they have to be in the vanguard of all the social and political movements. Most of the great leaders of the freedom movement have been lawyers. They fought for the rule of law. The fight for India's independence, led by lawyers, became a political fight for rule of law. by which the people of India could determine their own destiny themselves. Lawyers became active in politics not for power, but as highly educated trustees, fighting for what the masses wanted. The role which the lawyer community has to play for future was fully visualized by the founding fathers, and this is why the legal profession is the only profession which finds a recognition in the Constitution. Even otherwise, a society to be governed by rule of law is not possible without lawyers. It should be remembered that the judicial system and the Constitution are unworkable without lawyers. The Constitution once again demonstrated the role which the legally trained mind can play by declaring in the Constitution that justice, social, economic and political for all instead of a handful shall be the fundamental in the governance of the country. On this occasion, the bar again rededicated itself to the cause of the nation building by extending fullest cooperation to the judiciary, legislature and executive alike to ensure that justice, social, economic and political reaches to one and all in the true spirit enshrined in the preamble of the Constitution. Thank you very much.
Keynote address by the Honorable Chief Justice of India.
President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, Shri R.K. Jain, my esteemed colleagues on the bench, respected former judges of the Supreme Court, justices of the High Court, Vice President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, Dr. A.N. Singhvi, Honorary Secretary of the Supreme Court Bar Association, Shri Ranjit Thomas, members of the bar, ladies and gentlemen. I have great pleasure in joining you at this function to mark the grand finale of the Golden Jubilee celebration of India's independence. It is indeed a great event for me in my present position, as it was the dawn of independence which brought me to this great land we call Bharat as a refugee in compelling circumstances. The herald of human life is preceded by shrieks and cries of the mother in delivery pains. India as a mother was no exception. She had her share of labor pains too, the flow of blood and large-scale movement of its population in delivering baby India on August 15, 1947. We entered the post-independence era having the Government of India Act 1935 as a charter of governance when the Constitution of India was being drafted as a document of promise and faith for the Indian people. Leading members of the bar lent their intellect and wisdom towards accomplishing the task of nation building. The result was that we gave to ourselves the Constitution, which was made effective from January 26, 1950. We witnessed simultaneously the birth of the Supreme Court and the High Courts in the country, and they are being given befitting places in the scheme of the Constitution. At the inaugural sitting of the Supreme Court in January 1950, the first President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, Shri M.C. Sitawal, Secretarian of the Bar, besides being the first Attorney General for India, had solemnly committed to the court as follows, I quote, "We at the bar have confidence that the Supreme Court of India, which is being inaugurated today, will in the course of time attain the same judicial eminence, and that memorable and epoch-making judgment will illuminate its record. The task before us all in the building of a nation live to its national and international duties in the attainment of this noble end, we hope and trust that this court will play a great and singular role and establish itself in the consciousness of the Indian people. The heavy and responsible duties which rest on your lordship cannot be adequately performed without the assistance of a strong, well-equipped and independent bar. Court closed. Chief Justice H.L. Kania, with equal commitment, responded as follows, and I quote, "Experience has shown that no court can perform its duties to the satisfaction of all concerned unless it is assisted by a strong, intelligent and industrious bar. We have heard with pleasure your assurance of such assistance and complete cooperation in the administration of justice. We hope that with the realization of the value of independence which the country has achieved politically, such cooperation will be forthcoming from other quarters also. The Indian bar has maintained the high traditions of the profession." Unquote. We can proudly say today, almost at the end of half a century, that the Indian bar has maintained the high tradition of its professional obligations in rendering assistance in the discharge of the judiciary's responsibility. On that basis, superior courts have by and large remained advised rather than its judges pursuing individual convictions cutting across the advice tendered by the bar. We have thus far walked hand in hand, and we hope and pray that this companionship and togetherness would be enduring. The advent of freedom has assigned a new role to the Constitutional Court under the Constitution to ensure the rule of law in the country. New perceptions have been brought to us in stretching the Constitution. Courts pay due regard to the social, economic, and political changes in the country. They are brought to maintain the independence of judiciary, which is a basic feature of the Constitution. Judicial review is one such other in the hands of the Constitutional Court. New dimensions have been given to Articles 14 and 21 of the Constitution. Constitutional obligations imposed thereunder have led the court to many an affirmative action in not only correcting or substituting executive action, but seeing it carried through even by providing judicial legislation to fill a temporary vacuum in expectation of future formulation in the legislative way. These judicial fears have perhaps been in the spirit of Lord Benning's remark, which I quote, "Every new decision or every new situation is a development of law. Law does not stand still. It moves continually. Once it is recognized, and then the task of the judge is put on a higher plane. We must consciously seek to mold the law so as to serve the needs of the time. We must not be a mere mechanic, a mere working mansion laying brick on brick without truth to the overall design. We must be an architect thinking of the structure as a whole building for the society, a system of law which is strong, durable and just. It is on this work the civilized society depends." I am quote. In these 50 years, the Supreme Court has transformed itself from a conservative court to an active court, and sometimes described as overly active. Taking a few examples would not be out of step. B.K. Basu's case struck at police harassment and the custodial debt. People's Union for Civil Liberties case controlled telephone tapping, reiterating its earlier decision in Khadak Singh's case. Through Hawala case, investigating agencies were awoken from their slumber, and the concept of isolation of certain high-ranking officers were planted as a means to eradicate many an evil. These strikes the court could not have taken unless it was receptive by itself and the bar was not suggestive, responsive, without being sharply vigilant. And yet there have been instances where many a good cause waned away because of various infirmities, and others had to be left unattended to for various reasons. Having attained freedom and having adopted the Constitution and setting up of courts was not the end by itself. We have to love our country dearly. We have to remember that this is a land where we, our parents, and our children sleep. This is a country where you can speak the language of your heart. This country is not merely a geographical entity, but it is the glory that God or nature has given to us all. It is the home in which you can strive to perform yourself and achieve excellence. So we must pledge to give to the country our thoughts, our good counsel, and even our blood. We should treat our country as a cradle and humanity as mother. We cannot love our brethren of the cradle if we love not the common mother. From Kashmir to Kanyakumari and from Assam to Gujarat, each one of you can lift your eyes to the loveliest heaven and you would find that it is a canopy encircled by boundaries traced out by nature, in having the Himalayas in the north and a mighty sea in the other three directions. Unless you love your country, how can peace blossom? And peace is such a plant which rise and grow in the garden of their heart. The bar and the bench both have contributions to make in this respect. It is blatantly known that the primal function of any court system throughout the world is to help keep peace. This is the substratum on which courts were set up as a necessity. This motherland of ours is not a mere lump of earth. When we desire its progress, we must have peace. We are the inheritors of a great culture which has survived the onslaught of alien rule and political suppression. This culture would still be in good stead to nurture and maintain peace. The courts could bring it as an abiding faith. I wish to share a thought of concern with you which has been irking in my mind towards the age structure of the Supreme Court as also of some of the high courts in the country. It might surprise you that today the life of the present Supreme Court is 5 years and 9 months. Our youngest judge retires on June 1, 2004. The present lot of judges would not be here in the court after June 1, 2004. A future Chief Justice of India who expectedly would take over on 1st June 2004 would have had the opportunity of gaining experience in the Supreme Court for a period less than 5 years and 9 months, the sufficiency of which I leave you to adjudge. The Supreme Court has a history, a tradition to carry forward, and a conscious continuity as an important organ of the body politic. Somewhere down the lane, this aspect has been overlooked and should engage attention in its wider perspective. Another concern which has engaged my mind is stagnation in the Supreme Court bar. I think from all standards, eligible lawyers in their 40s, eminently fit to be High Court judges, cannot easily gain entry in the judiciary at the High Court level. There has been a rare instance in the Delhi High Court, but that was exceptional, since it would be claimed for the aspirant that he was practicing in the High Court. Since the initiatory step towards elevation is left exclusively at the High Court level or the state level, consideration of a Supreme Court bar member for being appointed a High Court judge has in recent times been viewed as an intrusion in the state domain. The talent available in the Supreme Court bar is superfine and is part of the nation's share and should be thought of being utilized in a constructive manner. If so, it would contribute towards the upliftment of the junior lawyer and de-escalation of fees prevailing in the profession. I have ventured to voice these two concerns specifically this afternoon, having regard to the fact that I may not be able to address a gathering such as this another time. At the conclusion, I thank you, Mr. President, the executive committee members, and members of the bar in giving me this opportunity to speak to you. I am also thankful to you for your patience in listening to me with attention. Thank you.
Honorable the Chief Justice of India, Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court, respected President of the Bar Association, Vice President, Honorable Judges of the High Court, Honorable Retired Judges of the Supreme Court, office bearers of the various bar associations including the High Court, Sisajari, Patiala House, MRTP, Consumer, Income Tax, Sales Tax, distinguished guests, respected senior members of the bar, my friends and colleagues. Today I stand before you with a deep sense of gratitude and a great hope for the emergence of our nation as one of the major forces in the world in the new millennium. Before entering upon my duty, let us pay our respect to our predecessors in legal profession who had played the major role in the freedom movement. The legal fraternity took the lead to liberate the nation from foreign domination. Pandit Motilal Nehru, Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das, Badruddin Tayeb, Sir Firoz Shah Mehta, Mahatma Gandhi, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel, Sri Rajagopal Achari, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Dr. Ambedkar, and such eminent leaders of the bar gave the leadership to the nation to get the liberation. Today we are proud of our freedom and the achievement that our country has made. But we have to remember one thing: the vast majority of the population of our country live in villages and rural areas. Even a fraction of the progress we have achieved in Delhi or other major cities are not reached in the villages so far. In the recent past, we have seen the moral values and discipline vanishing from the public life. The deterioration in all walks of life have made the role of legal profession more important and significant. Self-restraint and mutual respect are reducing, and self-interest and intention to achieve selfish gains through any means by hook or crook are the main reasons for this pathetic condition. We have to think more deeply and anxiously about the new generation and ways to extend a helping hand to them. A serious responsibility has befallen on us, and the situation demands action and sacrifice again from this noble profession. We have to rededicate ourselves to the ideals set by our great leaders on this occasion. The present situation demands the same contribution, dedication and sacrifice from the lawyers to hold the freedom and to hold India as one nation. We have to cultivate a sense of responsibility and dedication in the minds of the younger generation and members of the bar. At the same time, giving a helping hand to them to come up in their life. To instill confidence in them, a scheme for junior advocates will have to be framed. If we do not do it, nobody else can do it. Various bar associations and bar councils will have to think about that matter, and I request all bar associations to sit together and work out a scheme for junior advocates and also for the welfare scheme for the lawyers in general. Before concluding, I have a word more to tell my younger colleagues, that we have to give utmost respect to our leaders, our elders and seniors, and thus get their blessings and affection in return. Now, may I on behalf of the Supreme Court Bar Association extend our heartfelt thanks and gratitude to the Honorable Chief Justice of India, for kindly accepting our invitation for this program and giving us all encouragement in improving the atmosphere in the bar. There is cordiality and warmth in the relationship between the bench and the bar today. There is no red tapeism and bureaucratic hurdles in regard to any administrative matters. I once again extend the heartfelt thanks to the Chief Justice and the Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court who are very kind to accept our invitation, and by their gracious presence they have made this program a remarkable one. The Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court today stand in the world as a focus point, which is one of the greatest achievements for 50 years of India's independence. The apex courts of many countries today look to our Supreme Court and its erudite judgments for guidance. I thank all of them on behalf of the Bar Association. Honorable Judges of the High Court have been very kind to accept our invitation and added further grace to the program. Our sincere thanks to all of you. In front of us we have our former Supreme Court judges, Justice Khanna and Justice Sarkaria, to name them. Justice Jaswant Singh also. Our sincere thanks to them. Chairman and members of various commissions, the presidents and vice presidents and secretaries of the various bar associations, the bar council members of India as well as Delhi, our thanks to all of you. This unity of today itself augurs a great and glorious future for the bar to play a major role again in nation building while we march on to 21st century. My sincere thanks to all our distinguished guests, senior members of the bar, my friends and colleagues for taking all pains to attend this program and make this a grand success. I will be failing in my duty if I don't extend my sincere thanks to the Registrar General and other officials of the Supreme Court, journalist friends of printed media and electronic media who are also kind enough to extend a helping hand to make this program a great success. My thanks also goes to the staff of the Supreme Court Bar Association and others who helped us in making this program a great success. Before concluding, may I apologize to the Honorable Judges and all the distinguished members who are here for not anticipating the weather situation, and such a bad weather we had to make it. Now after national anthem, all of you may kindly join us for tea. Thank you. Everything will do.
यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में मान लो तो बर्फ पड़ रही है जरा कहीं पानी में
Keep your crowd.
I just want to know about the concern.
You pointed out two
concerns.
concerns.
I'm going to get a copy of that. My private section. No, we have the copy. But the concept, you know, it has to be understood when you have the section. We have the section. We normally have what you call in organization scouting and grooming. Not as good as it is. The grooming requires an education. Today we have millions that they would be off in 5 years of age. Is anybody born after it would have only 5 years and 9 years experience? That's according to some standards. नाले जैसा रंग तो उसको रंग नहीं करता ना रंग नहीं करता क्या कितना भी मेला हो जाए कुछ भी पहना जाता है आपके अगर सफेद कपड़े हो गए तो रोज धोबी के नाम होगा भैया।